Hello everyone, welcome to EVTN News. I was going to use my laptop for a live stream, but it was very slow. So we get this again, and I'm still considering what I want to do with this setup. Um, okay, I don't know if you can see the lights. No, not really. Okay, well, let's get into the news. Um, hey, remember the news story I don't know, 5 years ago? Remember there was stuff going on with the jab? Yeah. Well, oh, you can't see that either. All right. Anyway, with the jab, there was more information on that. So the Thomas More Society is pleased to announce that after more than a year of settlement negotiations, following a landmark decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit in 2024, the University of Colorado Anschutz School of Medicine has agreed to pay more than 10.3 million in damages, tuition, and attorney's fees to 18 plaintiffs who were denied religious accommodations for the mandatory jab during the virus panic. The settlement ends nearly a half-decade of litigation in federal and state court and represents a historic victory for religious freedom nationwide. If you do the math, 10.3 divided by 18, that's over 500,000 for each plaintiff. So if you were denied admission to this school of medicine based on your jab status, you're entitled to $500,000. Man, I wish I could have applied. Going forward, the university has agreed to allow students to request religious accommodations on equal terms as employees and give the same consideration to requests for religious exemptions as are given for medical exemptions. Contrary to the university's actions in this case, in addition, it has agreed to refrain from future inquisitions into the supposed legitimacy of students' and employees' religious beliefs after initially denying all requests for religious exemption to experimental jabs on that pretense. So this is a pretty significant decision here. I mean, I think a lot of us kind of expected it, but now we're here. And if you were able to just kind of wait it out, then you were going to get paid. And man, are they getting paid? And it's all because of communists. And we'll get to more communists later. But how many bishops would have supported religious exemptions for the jab? A lot of bishops told their priests not to write religious exemptions for the jab, and shame on them. And history and the laws coming down to the bishop's detriment, at least the ones who instructed their priests to deny jab exemptions, which are quite a few of them that we know about. All right, so Catholic Family News has come to an end. On their website, it says, with sadness, the board of directors of Catholic Family News has made the difficult decision to close the paper. The December issue of Catholic Family News will be its last. So paper is going the way of the dinosaur. Newspaper is going the way of the dinosaur. Now, I remember way back several decades ago when I was in high school, I was on the school newspaper staff, and there was a student school newspaper staff conference, and they had like a panel discussion at one point, and one of the people on the panel, it was an adult, he said, "Oh well, I don't ever see a newspaper going away for good," and boy, were they wrong, because newspapers are definitely definitely not very popular in this day and age. I mean, people still read them, but if you look at the demographics, people like my generation, I mean, very few of them actually read the newspaper. Um, Now, newspapers do have websites, and so the stuff they post on social media like Twitter, that's sort of a more what would you say? I guess more accessible way for a lot of people to access news. Anyway, Matt Gaspers left Catholic Family News a while ago, and then Brian McCall and Murray Rundis joined the Pelican Plus app, which I refer to it as the pay to pray app. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit disrespectful, but I don't know. I guess if you want to pay money to read their stuff, I guess you can do that. I mean, this YouTube's free to watch, and this channel, I don't have any subscribers only content, although you should subscribe. But that's that. Okay, getting to the big news of the week. So the Vatican, in regards to women deacons, it said the status questiones of historical research and theological investigation, as well as their mutual implications, rules out the possibility of moving in the direction of admitting women to the diaconate, understood as a degree of the sacrament of holy orders. In light of sacred scripture, tradition, and the Church's magisterium, this assessment is strongly maintained. But here's the qualifier. Although it does not at present allow for a definitive judgment to be formulated, as is the case with priestly ordination. So it's saying that the ordination of women has not been definitively decided. This isn't a win. This is a big loss, because the ordination of women is not possible. But the Vatican's saying, well, we're not so sure. No, I'm sure. And anyone who thinks that it's an open question is a heretic. So that's the news from the Vatican. It's not the time to rejoice. Yay, no women deacons. Well, but they're going to try, and I think that there is still a document coming from the DDF, Kissy, Cardinal Kissy. I think there is, I think there's still a document coming from him about, well, it's the role of women in the church, I think is what the document will be on. So I kind of expect something, I don't know, what would you call it, inflammatory or, provocative, of course. That's a great word for Cardinal Kissy. All right. So I did reference communism a little bit earlier, and let's go to China. The Vatican announced the episcopal consecration of Monsignor Francesco Li Jianlin as the new bishop of the prefecture of Jinjiang in Henan, China on December 5th. In 2018, Li co-signed a controversial provincial directive banning all minors from under 18 from entering churches, one of the clearest restrictions on religious freedom in China. It was reported just days before Li's ordination that a church in Zhuchang was forcibly closed and sealed with a heavy padlock after authorities found that children had entered the church and played musical instruments. An official notice ordered the suspension of all activities for rectification. The closure order was signed not by the police, but directly by the Patriotic Association and the Committee for Ecclesial Affairs run by Li. So he was the one that ordered the doors be locked of the church because minors were attending. And this is a new bishop that was approved by Pope Leo. Okay. The following day, the Vatican released this statement. Satisfaction has been expressed with the news that today the episcopal dignity of a different bishop, Bishop Emeritus Joseph Zhang Weizhu of the Apostolic Prefecture of Jinjiang, the same diocese, has received civil recognition. So the Chinese communists have recognized the underground bishop, who is now emeritus. which means he has no authority over anything anymore. And the Vatican uh, has expressed their satisfaction at that. So that was the deal. They recognize China recognizes the underground bishop, who is no longer the active bishop, and then they'll get to replace him with a guy that they want. There you go. Just a little bit about Bishop Zhang Weizhu, the one that was recognized by China, the underground bishop. On May 20th, 2021, the bishop was arrested the day before. The day before, 7 priests and 10 seminarians had been arrested. On May 20th, the day before, in the early afternoon, about 100 policemen from Hebei province surrounded the building that is used as a diocesan seminary in Hebei. Indeed, Xinjiang used as a seminary a small factory owned by a Hebei Catholic. Police entered the building and detained 4 priests, seminary professors, and 3 other priests who carry out pastoral work. Together with them, they arrested 10 seminarians who were attending class at the factory. After the raid, police seized all the personal effects of the priests and seminarians. Given the huge deployment of police forces, the raid was believed to have been planned for a long time. The civil authorities believed that there were more seminarians who managed to escape, and they looked for them in the area. Public safety and police go house to house to find them. If they discover that there are signs related to the Catholic faith, such as crosses, statues, sacred images, photographs, etc., they kidnap and destroy the objects and find the owners. Isn't that horrible? But Pope Leo's collaborating with them. But don't worry. Now that the underground bishop is formally recognized, I'm sure there will be no trouble by the Chinese authorities. Sure. Pope Francis, this is absolutely despicable, though. It's despicable that Leo is continuing the rotten path of Francis in this horrible Vatican-China deal. This was what I've been talking about since 2018, and it hasn't improved. The Vatican has sold out Chinese Catholics for, it's coming up to a decade that they've been selling out Chinese Catholics, and it's about time that ends. But I don't see it. I don't see any hope in the future, in the near future at least. Maybe under a different pope, but not this one. Pope Francis, who died in April 2025, set aside funds in his will for a humanitarian project run by Dominican sister Lucia Caram. She said in remarks reported by Spanish media. According to Sister Caram, the funds were explicitly intended to support medical care in war-affected areas of Ukraine, in particular the purchase of ambulances. The exact amount designated in the Pope's will has not been disclosed. So Sister Caram was born in Argentina and lived in Spain for about 30 years. She became widely known for her LMNOP activism. She stated that Our Lady was not a virgin, supported LMNOP marriages, and said that LMNOP sins are love. In 2023, she acknowledged that Francis is a friend of active LMNOPs and the gender misidentified, and claims that he had recently appointed an LMNOP as prefect of a very important dicastery, obviously referring to Cardinal Kissy Fernandez. So that's her opinion on that. Who really knows? But he's certainly not qualified. Okay. And more disastrous news from Leo. Today, well, not today, but last week, Pope Leo appointed Monsignor Salvador Gonzalez Morales is the new bishop of the Diocese of Cancun, Chetumal, Mexico. In February 2019, Francis had appointed him auxiliary bishop of the Archdiocese of Mexico City. In October 24, Monsignor Gonzalez Morales presided over a LMNOP Eucharist. During the event, he affirmed the Archdiocese's commitment to being a safe place for any member of the church, regardless of their, well, I guess preferred pronouns. And in July 24, when he was Vicar General, he co-signed a document regarding brothers and sisters who are divorced and remarried, stating that adulterers may, in the usual individual cases, be admitted to the sacraments. So, definitely a Francis bishop into the rainbow stuff, and I mean, usually when they're into the rainbow stuff, they're not so much a fan of the Catholic stuff. That remains to be seen, but you know, just man, just a disastrous record on bishops so far for Leo. It really hasn't been good, and again, it's just, I mean, just going to continue down this disastrous path of Francis, it seems. Okay, the next news. Virginia Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger has appointed Stanley Meador the next Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security for the state. 3 years ago, a leaked memo revealed that the FBI Richmond Field Office, under Meador's leadership, had targeted so-called radical traditionalist Catholics who prefer to attend the Latin Mass, allegedly because of concerns that many of these faithful are, quote, violent extremists and white nationalists. So, yeah, the elected governor of Virginia, a complete disaster, a complete train wreck, and she's bringing back the guy who targeted Catholics. So there you go. Sounds like a nice communist utopia. Maybe their goal is to become like China and stomp out all religious beliefs or any public religion. I'm sure that's the goal of the communists. I'm sure they'd be happy to do that. So far in the United States, it hasn't happened, but that doesn't mean it. It doesn't mean it can't. We need to be, you know, the people to prevent that. All right, so that's all I have for the news. Let's see in the comments here. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Peter K. He's on Pelican Plus. Oh yeah, I just don't. I'm not a fan of subscription-based products. I mean, so the thing is, if the bishops were doing their job, then it would be irrelevant what lay people are doing. So someone like me, I mean, this wouldn't be. I don't think I'd have anything to talk about if bishops were doing their jobs. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe I'd still have something to talk about, but lay people would be relegated to the news. Bishops and priests really should be teaching the faith, and deacons, assuming they're not like the ultra leftists, which I think a lot of them are. At least they're very much into Vatican II. It's kind of the married deacons are kind of like an innovation of Vatican II and the Roman Rite. Yeah, I'm just, I call it a pay-to-pray app. And like, I'm not going to pay. In fact, in the public domain, there's lots of traditional Catholic books. I mean, you can download like ebooks, and the Douay Rheims Bible is in the public domain. So a lot of stuff is free online. Now, if you like, whether or not you like reading ebooks is another story. That's another question. But yeah, I just don't see value in paying for stuff. Maybe paying for traditional books, but I don't see any value in paying for web content, no matter what it is. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's my thought. Okay, so this has been it for EVTN News. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we are the laity, and we will not be silent.